Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Happy Veterans Day coming up this week, 11/11. This is Lawyers in the House. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. Each year, we celebrate Veterans Day, which began as a marking of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, celebrating the year after the end of World War I. But within a couple of decades, Armistice Day, as it was known then, morphed into Veterans Day in a way that we could honor all of our service members, living and fallen. And now, Veterans Day is almost here, and I am so happy because we have an extra special show for you today. Now, we will talk about the law the way that we always do. As a matter of fact, there is an enormous case that's been grabbing headlines left and right. Camp Lejeune, you've probably heard something about it. You may know that it is a military base in North Carolina, the largest one on the East Coast. But what exactly is happening there, and why are we hearing so much about it all of a sudden? We've got today with us in the house a skilled Motley injury attorney who's going to fill us in, give you the scoop, and let you know why, if you or somebody you know was connected to that base, you may have a very important role to play in this story. But first, we've got a very special guest in the house with us today because Motley needs no special day of the year to honor service members. They do it all around the calendar, all year long. And our guest is going to talk about that commitment. She is a broadcast legend. She got her start in Kentucky. Louisville is where she began. And I'm calling her a triple threat because she's done radio, and she's done print, and she's done television. And fortunately, Atlanta, Georgia soon became her new home. And when she got here in 1975, she made history in not one, but two ways, because she became the first Black anchor and the first woman anchor of WSB-TV's daily evening newscasts. And that is how the legend of Monica Pearson came to be. All right, now, she did not let retirement in 2012 stop her from getting her master's degree, from getting back into radio and back into television, and launching more of her beautiful signature interviews with style and panache. And the entire way, all these decades long, her commitment to community and service has remained unshakable. I am so glad to have with us in the studio today my friend Monica Pearson. Monica, thank you for being in the house.
Hey, Ronnie. We're known around here as Ronnie and Monty.
We are. I've really, you know what? I'm thinking we should get T-shirts. We should get T-shirts
Ronnie
made.
and Monty T-shirts. And what we should say, Ronnie and Monty from Montlick.
Ronnie and Monty from Montlick. Now, Monica, you have had a notable partnership for Montlick. For a lot of people I've seen, once we get out of journalism, it opens up a lot of avenues for us. For you, it opened up this avenue to a partnership with Montlick. How did that happen?
Well, I was actually called by several firms asking if I would be willing to represent them and to talk about them. And I said no to everybody until Montlick came along. Mm-hmm. And the reason was because of Montlick's community service, because that is my heart and soul. What are you doing for people other than helping them solve their cases and get the payment they should receive for their injuries? Mm-hmm. But more importantly, what are you giving back? It's not a case of we just make our money here and that's it. It's a case of, yes, we make our money here, but more importantly, we give back to the community to help it grow. And I will never forget how much fun it was to participate in a heart walk with Montlick. to also participate in a walk for fallen soldiers with Montlick. But then when my daughter, who's now 42, but I thought back to when she...
how old she is. Wait a minute. I didn't tell her to say that, Claire.
Let's tell Claire, But, when I can remember when she started driving and how much I had to try to learn on my own to help a teenager drive. And Montlick has all of that in the safe driving that they provide on their website. So it, to me, was a perfect match. It was a match literally made in heaven.
I have to ask, did people have a lot of odd reactions?
Oh, my goodness. I heard from a lot of news people who called me and said, quote, "I can't believe you're doing that. You're with an ambulance chaser." And that's when I said, oh, no. Montlick does not chase anybody's ambulance. Montlick is a reputable firm that, again, is providing service to the community, not only through what they do in a legal way, but also what they do when they're not doing it. And that's important to me. Folks forget that the heart and soul of any company should be what they give back to the community. And Montlick does that. And so it's like second nature for them. I've been up there and helped them pack cleaning supplies for women veterans who are getting ready to move into their own place. And every lawyer was in there, grabbing stuff and putting it all in buckets.
Right. They're not working just in the courtroom.
No,
they're in the community, too.
They're in the community. And when we delivered those packages. But to me, I guess if more than anything else, is that because, like our lawyer friend here, Mark, he's a former serviceman. He's a Marine. You never are a former Marine. You're a Marine.
Once a Marine,
once a Marine, always a Marine. And I think about how what you went through in the service and how you're fine. But what about those people who are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome? Yeah, my uncle did.
Yeah, I was going to
after
ask
World
you
War II
about that.
And during that time, there was no service to really help you. The solution was, if you're having problems, we'll just give you a lobotomy. And my uncle was never the same after that. He never could hold a full-time job. So my love of veterans comes from my dad, who served in World War II. And few people know this, but I actually considered going into the Air Force, and I was a member of Angel Flight when I was at the University of Louisville.
I was in the Air Force, ROTC at Mississippi State. Oh, we have so much in common.
We do have a lot in common.
We need to put little wings on our T-shirts.
We do. But I really think it's important that veterans provided so much for us that it's important for us to be there for them. And that's one of the emphasis in Montlick's work. And then, of course, what I do for them is a Monica moment, which are just where I get to say whatever I feel about whatever I'm thinking.
Whatever's on your mind that day.
Yeah, and I love that. So Montlick and I are joined at the hip.
Yeah.
They're family.
You share core values.
Yeah, we do.
We are going to have Melinda Jeffress, who is Montlick's director of media and community programs and whatnot, coming in later to discuss with us a little bit about your journey with Montlick, how it came to be, and all of the things that you all have done together since then.
Oh, but the Fallen Heroes is my walk.
Is that the thing that calls to you the most?
That is, I still, when I think about it, tear up. It was a walk and a race at Lake Lanier. And when you walked from station to station, you would see the name of a fallen hero.
Yes, they line the route the entire way.
But what really gets you when the parents of that fallen soldier is there, when the mother, the children, and how proud they are, it puts a face, even though the picture's there, it puts a face and it gives a voice to that person who died in service to our country. Jenny Hardy and I, who's also with Montlick, spent so much time stopping and talking and crying. We didn't even care about how far we got.
You finished the walk.
We finished the walk. But it was one of those things where it brought into focus the sacrifice that men and women make for our freedom.
I always get emotional in thinking about my gratitude for service members. And I had uncles who also served in the Army. So I hold very dear, the ideals of America and how great she is when she lives up to those ideals. Even though we do sometimes have trouble in this country, we don't always get it 100% perfect. But I am so grateful for the service members who are there for us, who are protecting our democracy to keep it intact and to make sure that we stay safe. One of our veterans is here with us today. He is one of my favorite Montlick injury attorneys, Mark Molina.
Hello, Veronica.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yes.
Hoorah! Do y'all say hoorah? What do y'all?
Yeah, we say hoorah.
Can you do it like you say it outside?
Hoorah!
Yeah,
There we go.
I love it.
Yeah.
You've been a lawyer since 1993, and you've been with Montlick, what? Almost 4 years now, right?
Almost 4 years.
And you once told me, Mark, that law school was tougher than boot camp. I'm not sure if I quite believe you, but I do want you to tell us about that journey. What led you here to this moment?
What led me here to this moment, first of all, I was in the Marines at 17 years old. I joined shortly after the Marine Beirut suicide bombing in 1983. And I had a friend who had joined, and we were in the Bronx, and there's nothing like watching or seeing someone come back from boot camp in their dress blues or even their Alpha uniforms from the Marine Corps. And when I saw this guy coming from the airport and I picked him up, I could not believe that this was my buddy who is now standing 2 inches taller, cut, not as good looking as me, but still good looking. And I said to myself, wow, if he can do it, I can do it. Then the Marines got bombed, that suicide bombing in Beirut, Lebanon, and my 17-year-old brain said, we're going to go to war. And I'm going to be in the service when we go. And my buddy, he was on recruiting duty, and he helped me recruit in and joined the service. 83, from 83 to 89, got an honorable discharge in December of 89. Been married in there, 35 years as of July 18th this year. And she was instrumental in getting me through law school. She'll tell anybody who'll listen that she's the one that got me to be a lawyer.
Yeah, and tell us exactly how that happened a little bit, sir. Don't be shy. Come on.
When you're in the service, you learn how to take orders, and that continues through marriage. So the orders were to go to law school, and they were followed to the letter.
And you said yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. like today, yes, ma'am.
It's called marriage maintenance.
Exactly. So, many legal jobs, many reputable places I've worked, and then I decided to come to Atlanta, and through many other jobs, then came back and considered where to come back to, because now I had a choice. I can go anywhere I want with my background and my training and my legal background and my trial experience.
Yeah, you could have had your pick of firms.
I had my pick of firms, and I have friends calling me from other firms. And when I interviewed with Montlick, I had the vibe. And because we're talking about veterans on Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day, their commitment to veterans, the firm is 40 years old. I'm here only 4 years, and its commitment to veterans has come from early on, from almost its inception. So the firm has always been committed to veterans. I like that. I like the fact that they do all of these community outreach for veterans. And between that and the vibe and the people I met there, I said, this is the spot for me. And so far, so good.
What was your rank when you left the Marines?
When I was discharged in December 1989, I was sergeant.
Sergeant Molina, thank you for your service.
You're welcome. I don't ever know how to say to that, because I feel I'm more thankful to the veterans that came before me and the young guys who've come after me. But
we are also grateful, and I know that you, Mark, were at Camp Lejeune. We're going to hear from you firsthand about what's happening at that military base. This is Lawyers in the House with Monica Pearson and Mark Molina. I'm Veronica Waters on WSB. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlick on WSB. I'm your host, Veronica Waters, here with special guest Monica Pearson. And once a Marine, always a Marine, Mark Molina. Mark is a Montlick injury attorney. And we're talking about Camp Lejeune right now. For years, at this massive military base in North Carolina, it was poisoning the soldiers and civilians and the families who moved through there. Approximately 1 million service members and civilians may have been exposed to toxic groundwater at Camp Lejeune. It was drinking water that had become poisoned thanks to military waste that was dumped nearby, got into the groundwater. We're talking chemical solvents, we're talking benzene, and it led to a rash of conditions and illnesses and health problems for generations of people moving through there. Mark, you were at Camp Lejeune. Tell us a little bit, paint a picture for us of exactly what we're talking here.
I want you to envision a small city where hundreds of thousands of young Marines, old Marines, are cycled through from boot camp through varying parts of their career. And like any other city, you live there, you go to school there, you get medical care there, you're educated, your family lives there, you shop there. All of the things that you do on any city, you do on Camp Lejeune, which is the biggest base, the Marine Corps base on the East Coast.
East Coast, yeah.
So when you think about the scope and the numbers of people that cycled through Camp Lejeune from 1953 through 1987, hundreds of thousands into the millions of people who have been affected by this toxic water, because water we drink, we bathe, we got pools on the base, we have hose. I mean, all the things that you need water for, you use it for. The water that we used on Lejeune was contaminated, and the government has set aside this money for compensation.
And we're talking about a long list of diseases. There is a list of cancers, blood disorders. There are skin conditions, neurobiologic problems, infertility, miscarriages, so many things on this list. And Montlick is now available for people to make these claims.
We are available. You need to call 1-800-LAW-NEED or get on the website to contact us, because we have to get your case rolling. We have to confirm that you were on the base, or your loved one, or anyone that you were in contact with were there on the base for 30 days. Not cumulative.
30 days cumulative. Like, you accumulate 30 days. It doesn't have to be 30 days in a row, just 30 days anytime in that 4-decade period, right?
Correct.
Now, I understand there's a 2-year time frame to file a claim from the inception of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, right?
Correct. I'm concerned about getting you in, getting your case rolling, getting your case signed up so that we can put you in the pipeline and get, if you or loved one needs compensation, we can get you on the process started.
And just to reiterate, this is not just service members, Mark.
Not just service members, because I want you to imagine back the city scope. Family members, wives, husbands, loved ones, children, people who visit, all the things that happen on any city happen on this base.
And so now people are fighting for justice for those they have lost. And some people are still living with these conditions. And the government is trying to make it right, because there was a time when some military brass knew this was happening and covered it up. More on Camp Lejeune still to come later in the show. The Montlick closing argument. Also, we're going to hear a lot more about Montlick and its commitment to community service. That is straight ahead on Lawyers in the House. Stay with us. Back with you here on WSB. This is Lawyers in the House with Montlick. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. We have some very special guests in the studio with me today. So excited to welcome back my friend, Monica Pearson, broadcast legend and partner with Montlick for the last half decade or so. And we've also got Melinda Jeffress joining us now. She is Montlick's marketing director. Just forgive me for me sort of mangling her title in the first part of this show. Listen, when you have this many hyphens behind your name, not everybody can get it right, okay? But we've got Eminem in here. You know what? The whole show is like M&M's. Mm-hmm. It's like Eminem, right? All right, so we got Eminem here with me today.
And Montlick.
And we're that's the show today. So, Melinda, I mentioned earlier that it's evident to me Montlick doesn't need a calendar day to pay tribute to service members. It's something that Montlick does all of the time. Before we get into that supporting our troops linchpin that Montlick has in place, can you tell me about how you wound up at Montlick, Miss Media Veteran?
Sure, absolutely. Well, my background is actually in media. I worked here at WSB.
Yes, you did.
And, I loved what Montlick was doing from a community service standpoint. Same thing as Monica. And actually, I had the same response as Monica. Why are you going to a law firm, a personal injury law firm, in that fact? And I kept saying, it's not the same. They are not the same. There's something special. There's something different. and coming over, it's in our hearts. It's what we do. It's our core values of giving back. And it comes from the top with David Mottlick, and it just goes and filters all the way down.
It is something that I have, as I've gotten to know lawyer after lawyer from Mottlick, you see this real passion and commitment to doing right by people. There is something special about the attorneys walking those hallways.
There's something special about everyone there at the firm. And to be able to service our clients and know that we're protecting the people who need us most in their hardest time, but to know that we're doing it for the right reasons. And that's why we support our military and why we're here and why we have Mark. It's about doing the right thing. It's always about operating at the highest level of integrity. And that's what our military does. And that's what we do here at Mottlick.
Operating at the highest level of integrity, even when nobody's watching.
Exactly.
Even when nobody's watching. Camp Lejeune's lawsuit that we talked about earlier, a lot of people are clamoring for those cases. But Mottlick's no,
it's something that we've been
veterans.
doing forever. We've been helping people and our veterans with helping through veterans benefits long before something of Camp Lejeune even came up to surface. And it's our core values. It's what we do every day. And now, unfortunately, there is this issue with Camp Lejeune, but we're here, and we've been here for over almost 40 years now.
Let's talk a little bit about some of these amazing projects. We can't get into all of them. Listen, we do not have enough time. Trust me. But check out mottlick.com and go to the firm overview, and you'll see so many things, so many proactive programs for safety. But all of these things about our service members too. Let's get into you girls telling me some of your faves.
I've already spoken about mine, which is the Fallen Heroes Walk, which I just think really brings forward to us what veterans have done, what service people have done, and they have given their lives for us to be able to have freedom, but they've also done it abroad to help others get what we have. And so that is my favorite. Although for my husband, John, his favorite would be Hope Atlanta and packing cleaning supplies and carrying them in for the women who are finally getting places of their own. So many of our homeless people are veterans, and many of them are women veterans.
Tell us what Hope Atlanta entails, Melinda.
Well, Hope Atlanta has a large scope of helping Atlanta and the community, not just veterans, but in particular where we come in as a law firm is helping those veterans get settled back in a home. As Monica said, some of these service military men and women suffer PTSD. They can't hold a job. They need help getting back. And how horrible is it that they've served our country and we're not here giving them a roof over their head? And so for us, it's those move-in kits. It's everything, not even just the cleaning supplies. It's comforters, it's sheets, it's pots, it's pans, it's a broom. Everything that they could possibly need to get set up in a new home and start a new life, that's what we're providing to them. What
have you seen this do for folks? And how did you get tied into Hope Atlanta, Monica?
Well, it was actually through their former executive director, Jeff Smythe, who I had worked with at Meals on Wheels Atlanta. And he called me one day and basically said, I'm working with this organization. Many of the women are former veterans. Do you think Mottlick would be interested? And so that was the beginning of it.
You connected Hope and Mottlick.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's, Mottlick has always been there for the vets. It's so simple. And you know what I love? Christmas.
Oh.
And we'll talk more about that the closer we get to Christmas. But actually packing gifts and taking them to veterans and their families. And I went along for that. And to see these little kids seeing what they're going to get, even though, we tried to hide it from them. But the point was, Christmas has come. And so many of these families couldn't afford. They gave us a wish list, and it was just that, a wish list, because they didn't have the money to buy it. Mottlick, the attorneys, we all got together and gave them Christmas.
It's part of the Kiss Wish with our radio partnership.
Kiss Wish is so much fun every year. The smiles in those photos really tell the story. It's one thing for us to talk about what Mottlick does. but I think it's another to hear from folks who've actually benefited from these things, right, Monica?
I would agree because I've been told, well, you remember there was this one man we went to visit at this apartment complex, and he was so excited about the gifts. And he kept saying over and over to us, thank you so much. You really made our Christmas. You know, we wouldn't have had Christmas if it hadn't been for you. And when you hear somebody say that, here's someone who had served in the military, we would not have had Christmas if it hadn't been for you. Breaks your heart.
We owe such a debt of gratitude to our veterans who have done so much for us. And as you pointed out, so much for people around the world. America takes her fighting skills and strengths across the world to help make things better for folks. And our debt of gratitude can never be repaid.
Mm-hmm. It's the least that we can do.
And I think that's what you say. It's the least that we can do, but to the people who receive what Montlick brings, it's the most they've received. It's a lot in a lifetime for them. And they no longer feel invisible. And when you have a firm that says, we care, and we're going to show you by showing up and showing out, then all of a sudden they feel like someone knows they're there. And to me, that's what's so wonderful about Montlick, is that they show up and they gently provide for you what you need, and they don't ask for anything in return. These are people who don't need a lawyer. What they need is a handout and a hand up, and Montlick provides that.
Let's take a little moment and listen to some of the folks who have been touched by Montlick's actions.
Good morning, Crystal.
Good morning.
So you were an Army Navy veteran of 15 years, a mother of two, and married, and you and your family moved here. And all of a sudden, you found yourself literally living in a hotel because you were scammed. And then when you looked for services, you had a hard time getting the help you needed. As a matter of fact, they even told you the only way we can help you is for you to be homeless. So for 2 weeks, you and your family lived in a car in order to get the services you need. So how did Hope Atlanta, which Montlick supports, how did they help you and your family?
Hope Atlanta, if I can sum it up in so many words, they really saved my life. Well, Hope Atlanta was that breath of fresh air for me. For the time I walked into the office, I felt like I was somebody. I didn't feel like a number. I didn't feel like I needed to be ashamed of something that I might have done to end up in this situation. They were there from the start. They were follow-up. They provided services to me that I feel like were above and beyond. I was in a home, and they didn't just put me somewhere. They put me somewhere nice and decent. I was in a townhome. It was a 3-story townhome, and I stayed there for 2 years until I moved into the option to buy. And we bought our first home here in last year, December. They just helped beyond measures, and I will forever be grateful to Hope Atlanta.
You are a perfect example of what Hope Atlanta can do. The name is most appropriate. Crystal, thank you so much for telling us your story.
Thank you so much for that, Monica. That was awesome. So Melinda and Monica, talking about all of the things that Montlick does for service members, can somebody fill me in on this dream room makeover I've heard about? You know, we've been talking about making a home. What's the dream room makeover?
Sure, I'll take that one. Each year, we partner with another television station down in Columbus, and it's something that we do for the children. Oftentimes, we talk about the military servicemen and women, but we forget about their families. And that's something with Montlick, we always remember that it's not just the men and women serving, but it's their families. And the Dream Room Makeover Contest allows us to make over a room for a child, a boy and a girl. So we, obviously put the submissions out there, let families nominate their son or daughter. Sometimes it could be a teacher that's nominating because they understand these kids are moving. And if you think about the children of servicemen and women, they may every 4 years be moving to a new base or a new home. And so their home is their own stable place, right? Their friends may be changing, their school may be changing, But if we can make their home a good, safe place where they feel comfortable and make over a room for them, it's one of those things where it's heartwarming to see the kids being appreciated. Because oftentimes it's just the servicemen and women that get the appreciation. But the kids sacrifice just as much as the men and women that are serving.
So when the makeover happens, is that like a wish list kind of thing too? Or do you guys just come in and completely surprise them and you take over everything?
So it's almost like the clearance house where we come in and we surprise, hey, you've won. And then what we do is we conduct interviews.
Get out.
Exactly. we conduct interviews and say, what would you like? What's your theme? What would you like for your new room to be? So we don't just come in and do what we want. We actually talk with them and we do what they want. So they know that they've won. We surprise them and then they go away. We come in and for the whole weekend, we remake their room. They're not allowed to go in. And then there's a reveal. Just like Dream Room, just like the home makeover show.
Right.
There is a reveal.
Is it like this?
It's just like that. And we interview them again and the family. And just as Monica said, these families don't expect anything. They don't expect this. And so when we're able to come in and surprise them, and sometimes it's life-changing for these kids. You don't know if they're going through depression. You don't know because as kids, they're resilient. Mm-hmm. But there's often underlying factors that if we could do something that helps them and enlightens their world, we're here to do it.
They're like the little hidden helpers of the family.
Yes.
Now, the firm's founder, David Montlick, is not in studio with us. It's just the two M's and Lady V over here. But I couldn't help but shout out David because please don't mind me. I hope you don't mind. I know you don't want to toot your own horn. But I've learned that David and the firm have received some notable honors from the military itself. The Association of the United States Army awarded David its Patriotism Award in 2012. The Greater Atlanta chapter of the Association of the Army recognized Montlick & Associates as the most patriotic business.
Yes.
And we got to hear from David during those years about what this means to the firm and his commitment to service members and those core values, courage and service, and what that means to him and to the firm. Amazing stuff.
It is, Veronica. And as I said at the beginning, none of us do this and expect to receive an award. We do this out of the kindness of our heart. It's something that, David has done from the beginning of his inception of the firm, but something that he passes down to his children. And it's something that we at the firm pass down to our employees and to our community.
More about Camp Lejeune. Thank you so much to Melinda Jeffress and Monica Pearson. The Montlick closing argument is straight ahead. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House. This week of Veterans Day here on WSB. So glad to have you with us. I'm your host, Veronica Waters. We've had some special guests on a very special show talking about our veterans, our service members, living and fallen, and something that's in the news affecting not just them, but their families. It is time for the Montlick closing argument. Marine Sergeant, Montlick injury attorney Mark Molina, take it away.
Thank you, Veronica. 5 things you need to know about the Camp Lejeune situation, folks. First, Lejeune is the biggest military Marine base on the East Coast, so the scope of this runs into the hundreds of thousands of people affected. If you were Marine, know a Marine, date a Marine, chances are they had some connection with Camp Lejeune. 30 days, if that person served 30 days cumulative, whether 15 days here, 10 days there, and added up to 30, that makes you eligible. You must start this process right away because I can't tell you how long the process is going to take, but I can tell you that if you don't start the process and get included, you will not get compensated. The other thing is if you're on VA disability for any reason, that does not preclude you from the benefits that have been afforded by Congress for this particular compensation. And the diseases covered are a myriad of cancers, all types of conditions that are listed in our website. And you need to contact us so that you can get into the process going, system started, and everything going so we can start representing you.
So, Mark, I just want to make clear, we were talking about so many soldiers who came through Camp Lejeune, but what if I lost someone? They're no longer with us. Or what if I was just a family member of someone there? Or what if I was a civilian groundskeeper who worked there, for example?
Call us, 1-800-LAW-NEED. We'll process the case. We'll intake it. We'll document what time you were there, how you were connected with Camp Lejeune. But if you don't call us and we don't get your case processed, we can't help you.
I know you said you can't tell how long it's going to take. Some people might be wondering, though, how much money they might have coming to them. How much am I going to get?
It depends. Every case is different. Depends on the condition. We got to review your medical records, submit it, see what the process entails. And this is all new. The money was just allocated by Congress. But again, if you don't call us, 1-800-LAW-NEED, we can't start the process and we'll never know.
If you don't start, you can't finish it.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark Molina, Melinda Jeffress, special guest star Monica Pearson here joining us on Lawyers in the House. Don't forget, you can find us on all things social at Montlick Law. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. And check us out on lawyersinthehouse.com. You can not only see us, but hear us there, and you could submit a question to us 24/7. Montlick.com also has a page with everything that you need to know about the Camp Lejeune Justice lawsuit. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next week on Lawyers in the House. And to all of the veterans with us and those who sacrifice their lives and the families who support them, we owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you so much for your service.